He's been called Amsterdam's most infamous crime boss, and for good reason. Gwenette Martha's career in the world of organized crime was nothing short of astonishing and often horrifying. From drug trafficking to brutal violence, Martha's legacy is one that continues to shock and fascinate people around the world. But what led him to a life of crime, and how did he become one of the most feared men in Amsterdam? We're going to unveil everything inside this video. Let's begin. At age 8, Gwenette Martha, along with his brother and mother, fled their home country Curaçao due to his father's alcohol addiction. They eventually settled in Amsterdam-South, the Netherlands. Martha showed promise in football and played for Ajax's youth teams, but after training, he and his brother would loiter in their neighborhood to peep and cause trouble. Martha's life took a turn for the worse when he lost one of the most important things in his life. He quickly climbed the criminal ranks and forgot the values his mother had instilled in him to be a good person. Martha is famously known as the man without a shadow and a key figure in the Micro War, one of the most infamous criminals in Dutch history. He always knew that retirement was not in his future, but the way his story ended was like a scene from a movie. Martha was born on February 7, 1974, in Curaçao, where he lived with his father, mother, and brother. Martha's father struggled with sobriety and often turned violent towards his family. As a result, his mother left the country to seek a better future for her sons, which she may have later regretted heavily. After settling in Amsterdam-South's De Pip, Martha began exhibiting his footballing prowess, playing with his buddies. Ajax didn't take long to spot him and sign him up for their youth teams. He performed well on the pitch, but off it, he and his younger brother Giovanni started getting involved in petty crime. The two were inseparable, but while Giovanni was hot-headed, Gwenette was more thoughtful. As more of their friends joined their criminal activities, they became street gangs. Consequently, Gwenette gave up his footballing career and chose the criminal path. Which would you choose if given the option to pick between a football career and a life of crime? Tragically, on the 5th of March 1992, a month after his 18th birthday, something happened that would change Gwenette's life forever. While partying at Escape, a club in Amsterdam's city center, his crew fought with a rival gang from Amsterdam West. The altercation quickly became heated, and one of the West Side crew members, Mohammed Mumi C, fatally shot in the arms of Giovanni's older brother. Unfortunately, his elder brother died. After this incident, Gwenette swore to avenge his brother's death, but he had to wait since Mumi received an 8-year jail sentence. Despite the lengthy wait, Gwenette remained patient, and after 11 years, on October 14, 2003, he finally exacted revenge, ending Mumi's life. Mommy was at the coffee shop Ruthless in Groningen when a helmeted man walked in and shot him dead. Due to insufficient evidence, Gwenette was never charged for his alleged involvement in a crime. However, those close to him noticed a significant change in his behavior after losing his brother. Meanwhile, Martha and his group evolved from committing minor offenses to committing violent and serious robberies. Their crimes escalated from street robberies to store robberies, eventually leading to bank robberies. As a result, the Dutch police launched an extensive investigation into Martha and his associates, resulting in his arrest. The prosecution demanded a 10-year sentence for Gwenette for his involvement in the violent robberies. However, he received a relatively light sentence of 1.5 years in prison for drug dealing and firearm possession and was acquitted of the other charges. In the mid-90s, Gwenette Martha and his gang began to make significant strides in the drug trade, importing cocaine from South America using the proceeds from their robberies. They spent their profits on luxurious items such as designer clothing, watches, and club bottles, leading to Dutch police to investigate their money laundering activities. They placed Gwenette under 24/7 surveillance to gather evidence, but his reputation as the man without a shadow proved true. Even the most experienced detectives had difficulty keeping tabs on him, and he was notorious for being hard to track. Once, when an observation team attempted to place a tracker underneath his car, Gwenette noticed it and retaliated by placing it underneath one of the surveillance team's cars. The observation team was thrown into great confusion when they realized they were tailing their own colleagues. On the other hand, Gwenette made a peaceful getaway, one of his many boss moves to elude observation. Later, the team admitted that Gwenette would often acknowledge their presence on the street by blinking or waving, though they assumed he had no idea they were following him. On one occasion, he even taunted them by affixing a blue siren, similar to theirs, on his car and speeding off, clearly mocking their attempts to track him. Unlike his criminal associates, Gwenette didn't make the mistake of communicating over phone lines that could be tapped. Instead, He used scanners to detect trackers and jammers to thwart potential trackers, always erring on the side of caution. However, the observation team also had their share of successes. In March 2007, they spotted Gwenette receiving a large black bag at a gas station before driving to his then-girlfriend Malika K's house. Suspecting it to be a stash house, the police arranged a raid on April 3rd and found 2 watches worth 100,000 euros and a substantial amount of cash. They also raided another house, which Gwenette was known to frequent, and arrested him. At his court appearance, the judge asked him how he could afford such expensive items and cash without any visible income. Gwenette tried to defend himself against the judge's skepticism by claiming that he had made money selling weed and operating a clothing store in Amsterdam, but had neglected to declare his income. He also admitted to not having a bank account, citing laziness for not wanting to deal with paperwork. However, the judge was unconvinced and sentenced him to 7 years in prison on April 15, 2008. But anyone who thought that would end Gwennette's story was mistaken. Less than a month later, on May 12, 2008, Gwenette pulled off a spectacular escape from prison with another inmate. They climbed over 2 fences, but the other inmate got caught while Gwenette was picked up by 2 men waiting in a stolen Volkswagen van. The van was later found abandoned, with no sign of Gwenette or his accomplices. A routine traffic stop in Antwerp on October 28, 2009 led to his recapture, and he was extradited back to the Netherlands on January 6. In addition to serving a jail sentence, he was ordered to pay back 16 million euros for money laundering. But upon his release from prison after a 4-year sentence, Gwenette had bigger problems to face. On the last Friday of 2013, he was confronted by an unidentified man while walking through Amsterdam-South with a friend. He aimed his weapon at Gwennette's head, pulling the trigger repeatedly, but the weapon malfunctioned. A brief struggle ensued before the attacker fled, leaving Gwenette alive. Gwenette immediately went to the nearest police station to file a report and request protection, which is unusual given that he was a notorious criminal. It's commonly believed that criminals don't cooperate with law enforcement or seek protection from them. However, Gwenette did and was promptly interrogated. Unfortunately, Gwenette claimed he had no information to share, which resulted in the police denying his request for protection. The hitman responsible for the attack was never identified, but Gwenette suspected it was ordered by a former friend, Alex Aleki Gillis. On February 20th, Gwenette successfully ordered a hit on Gillis and took his life. However, this did not mean Gwennette's life was no longer in danger. On May 22, 2014, while in the Roos shawarma shop on Amsterdam-South in Amstelveen with his bodyguard and associate, 2 other men joined them. Gwenette left the shop with one of the men, and as they stepped outside, a BMW appeared, and suddenly he was under fire. Gwenette was shot at with a Kalashnikov and at least 1 other automatic weapon. He was struck a shocking 80 times, while the man he was with managed to flee and avoid injury. The shooters quickly fled in the car, later burned out in Diemen. This marked the end of Gwenette Martha's life. Gwenette went from being an Ajax youth player to becoming one of the most notorious criminals in the country. He escaped prison and survived numerous attempts, but ultimately, his life was taken. It begs the question, was this a trap to lure him outside so they could finish the job? Who were the 2 men who joined him in on it? Share your thoughts and opinions in the comments. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more crime-related videos like this.